Welcome back to Mind Your Biz. My name is Seth, and in today's creator highlight, I've got a really special treat. It's a blend between doing one of our privacy chats with a privacy advocate, but also a content creator, also some would say the leader of a movement, the face of a movement. And it's just, this has been a long time coming. I still can't believe it's taken us so long to finally set this up and do this. But I have with me Rafael LaVerde, who is the face of Crypto Vigilante. Raf, welcome
Thank
to the show.
well, thank you for having me, Seth. I really appreciate you having us here. And I want to thank you for your show and for putting this together. And as we were talking for you leaving the corporate world and using your powers for good in crypto, we really appreciate it. I have to say it, man. I've been on a lot of shows, and the way you have everything set up, dude, is it's like unlike anything I've seen. So kudos to you, man.
Well,
Really cool
definitely
stuff.
appreciate it. Yeah, definitely appreciate it. I think we were kind of comparing notes that we've been very interested in privacy preserving cryptocurrencies and in privacy preserving technology for some time, and you're kind of at odds when you have that interest of privacy preserving tech and wanted to talk about it, right? Like because everyone wants to
Yes.
be in on. So yeah, where do you start? Right? You got
Well,
to find a way.
that's what happened to me, right? Like found myself caught up in the middle of the Bitcoin civil war, and I saw Jeff Berwick, fighting for everyone's life, being out there, calling things as they are. And and I'm here working with the Bit Angels network, and I'm giving Jeff like an insight into like what's coming our way in crypto, and constantly dialoguing with him. And he's like, Raf, let's start the Crypto Vigilante. And it was really hard for me for a while there to let go of being private and being now being a public person. It was really hard. The nerd in me sometimes cries, but I know that I'm on the path because I'm able. Jeff and I now are able to give a voice to all these very smart and talented people. If you go to like cryptovigilante.io, and who is TCV, if you go to the tab that says "Who is TCV," you'll see our team of analysts, and it's kind of funny, dude. It's like, yeah, go to "Who is TCV" and just scroll down, and so that's Jeff. Ed Bugos, in my opinion, he's the most badass economist in the world. I honestly don't know of anyone else like him. He's just incredible when it comes to Austrian economics and understanding the banking cycle of the central banks and from the Austrian monetary theory. And if you go further down, you'll see now it starts getting dark, right? So I'm wearing glasses. So that's me doxing myself. That's my business partner, Mr. X.
Hey, and good old pop up. Got to appease the marketing gods.
Yeah. And so if you keep going down, you'll see the first guys. These guys were amongst the first ones to chart Bitcoin in the Bitcoin talk forums in 2010. Here they rebranded as Mr. W and Mr. A and W. They're amazing. Our subscribers get almost daily reports from them on technical analysis, and their charts are just mind blowing. They're unlike anything I've ever seen because not only do they come from that, from that history of being the crew that first charted Bitcoin in the Bitcoin talk forums in 2010, but they also have a lot of like proprietary charts that like them and maybe a dozen other people have. It's just really badass stuff that they created for themselves. And if you keep going down, then we get more into like more of like fundamental analysis type guys that like uh in before they came in with these names of Mr. Z and Mr. W, they were known in the crypto space by their names, and they're truly legendary figures in the world of crypto. And that's all I'm gonna say about them. But they've proven themselves over the years again under these new names. Mr. Z actually he predicted Luna, Seth. It's
Wow.
fucking wild, dude. He predicted Luna like 3 months before it happened. And he said,
Yeah.
guys, this is what's going to happen with Luna as a algorithmically pegged stable coin, run for the hills. And this was during a time when he was doing heavy research on Haven, which is also an algo peg stable coin, but it's based on the crypto note, privacy protocol that shares with Monero.
Yeah.
And he called it, and Jeff Berwick with his experience was able to make an insane an insane move in teaching all of us how to trade a distressed asset like Luna. He made millions of dollars in front of our faces, and we're a bunch of younger guys, and we knew what was happening in real time, but he was able to time the market, and he bought it when it was kept going down all the way down to like nano pennies, and he just kept buying it. And I think just obviously something we didn't know. Well, we didn't know based on lived experience, but since he's older and he's lived through like many cycles of like tech waves, like the dot-com bubble, he knew what was going to happen. He had an insight that maybe this is going to bounce, and it did.
Oh, and he's got iron guts. You can just tell he's got the guts that don't quit. Like,
well, he doesn't
I
stop.
would not have the stomach for it.
That's the thing. It's like you come to realize that you can have all of the know-how in the present moment, but experience takes you where your knowledge just cannot take you. Even if you are even if you understand what's happening before your eyes, it is the movement that you make as a person in the market in real time that is defined by your character, that is defined by who you are as a person and your lived experience. If you go further down, we have Mr. P, and his emphasis is on operational security. So in a nutshell, what we do at the Crypto Vigilante is the what are we talking about? The when, that's technical analysis, when to get in, when to get out, when to time the market, if that's your thing, and the how, operational security. How do we actually deal with these technologies? And so having someone like Jeff Berwick and Ed with their experience really takes our crypto experience to the next level, because we have that their experience to back up our immediate knowledge. So it's been a very, man, we're going on to 4 years now, and it's been one heck of a ride to see this develop into much more than a newsletter, but a network of researchers, really is the way I call it, because we really strive to build on top of the research we provide subscribers. So that's us in a nutshell. And thank you for having us here, Seth.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. You mentioned a couple of projects that are near and dear to my heart. I interviewed the first version of the Haven developer team, and then I interviewed the second version of the Haven developer team. Kind of laughed and cried with them as they had the algorithm for their stablecoin sort of arbed to death internally. And I'm, the person who did it said, hey, it needed to point out a weakness. To their credit, they let them walk away with their profits instead of trying to do a chain rollback or anything. But and then same with, I saw in the notes there for your OPSEC specialist, the session messenger have interviewed the Loki net and the early Loki teams for the better part of 5 years now, that I've been keeping tabs on them when they were still 100% proof of work project. So everything you guys are focused on, everything you guys are working on to help bring to people is near and dear to my heart. So, I mean, you guys, you've captured my heart just by based on what you guys talk about. But like you said, having that experience to be able to say with that conviction, like, no, this is the entry point. So like, put your money where your mouth is. That's next level. So thoroughly appreciate the work you guys do, for sure.
You know, it's crazy. What's crazy about human nature is that we get caught up in ways of thinking that if I were to have told you, hey man, maybe FTX is not the place to be in, 3 months before FTX collapsed, most people would have just looked at me like, what are you talking about? Look, they have Tom Brady. They had a stadium named after them. What are you talking about? They're best friends with all these regulators. And so it goes to show how quickly things can change in crypto. And I think that that's a good thing, because we are moving into a world that is the future is on the blockchain. That is what everyone knows. Now, what blockchain are we moving into? That's another question, right?
Yeah.
But we do know that the future is on the blockchain. We do know that. And so we have to be very kind of aware as educators to kind of guide people, not guide them per se, but really show them the full spectrum of what's happening, because we have the option of having a very bright future or very tyrannical future as well with the use of these technologies. And it is our more imperative at TCV. And and thank you. I'm really grateful for meeting you, because it seems to me that you're the type of guy that also does not want to live, in a tyrannical world aided by these technologies.
Yeah, no, Rafael, I've got kids. I cannot let them inherit a future where that dark view of cryptocurrency prevails. It's just not an option, period.
Yeah.
So whether that means that I have to learn and then teach them how to use privacy preserving technologies until the laws become just laws, or we attack it from the other side, top down, and we make sure that the regulatory environment doesn't go off the rails and become regulation through enforcement or regulation through litigation, crushing everybody that tries to do anything innovative by endless frivolous lawsuits. I think both approaches are needed, and then the insight and the education, like what you guys are doing. I mean, it's all hands on deck, and we are getting so close to that event horizon where we're either moving towards that fork in the road. We're either moving towards that bright future, or we're moving very quickly towards centralized systems that they look like blockchain and they're decentralized in name only, but they're really just new systems of control. So yeah, I absolutely hear that call from where I am, that just needing to grab as many people as possible who listen to my media, and then make sure that people, if they like what Crypto Vigilante is doing better, or they like the way you present it more, or if it resonates with them, like, I don't care. We just need the signal to get out, right? It's not about
sure.
winning over one brand or another. It's about making sure that, like you said, tyranny doesn't win. So
what we know for sure is that no company, no business, no corporate structure will ever outlive the best of blockchains. So at the end of the day, we all work for the best of blockchains, and it's up to us to figure out which blockchains those are, because yeah, uh, nothing's gonna outlive the best of blockchains. No business is gonna outlive the best of blockchains.
no.
So that's what we work for, really. I've said that the invention of of triple entry accounting, the blockchain tech itself is the death of the corporation, which comes from dual entry accounting. So it's important to have
for anybody in
difficult
the audience that doesn't
conversations.
know, right? Like that double entry bookkeeping was, for its time, man, it revolutionized things, right? For a minute. But to your point, yeah, it's obsolete now. But yeah, it was the best thing going for a while.
The thing, Seth, is that sometimes in crypto we have to um be willing to have difficult conversations. And what I've realized um is that it's important to have honest conversations where we like respect each other's where we're at. Because, like, for me, I'll give you an example. As an investor, I'm an investor first and foremost. I'm not a maximalist of anything, because to me they're all just tools to be used, right? Like, I'm not going to favor hammer team over screwdriver team, but I do want you guys, everyone watching, to be a maximalist for your favorite coin, because I do not want to invest in something where people that are part of that network are kind of you know
Yeah,
ambivalent
wishy
about it.
washy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you are a Bitcoiner, I want you to be the biggest Bitcoin maximalist. If you're in Ethereum, I want you to be the biggest Ethereum maximalist, because I wanna hedge my bet on armies that are completely driven towards, that are mission oriented, right? That are not ambivalent about what they like or what they're doing. So um it's but in spite of that, we still have to have these conversations. And so we created a space. This is what we really aim for, and we aim for till this day, to have difficult conversations at TCV. And we have uh, difficult conversations that stem from the Bitcoin Civil War. So the Bitcoin Civil War is at the heart of everything that we see happening in crypto right now. The topic of privacy was at the front and center of this civil war, where we had different ideas as to how to provide the most amount of privacy to the people in the space. And some people thought that Bitcoin was capable of providing that privacy, and others said, you know what, it's never going to happen here. We're going to have to start from scratch. And so that's the birth of like Monero. That's the birth of Pirate Chain. That's the birth of Darrow, and many other privacy protocols that, for example, you've mentioned. But it started with that conversation. It started with that conversation of like, is it Bitcoin even for this? Is Bitcoin even for privacy? And I actually, Seth, I'm from the train, me personally, not the rest of the TCV team. Everyone has their own opinions on this, but I personally think that Bitcoin was never meant to be a privacy coin. For me, Bitcoin was always supposed to be a truth machine, a book that they can never burn, the history that they can never rewrite, a global honesty ledger, so that we can keep the assholes that want power accountable, so that they can't rewrite history, so that they can't censor us, so that they can't erase. We need, and I think to this day, I think we still need that. We do want privacy. I do want privacy, but I also want to hold people accountable,
Yeah, speaking
especially
truth
those
to
that want
power,
power.
like yeah,
Yes.
like you're saying. I mean,
Yes.
Chancellor on brink of second bailout. These are famous words where we live, right? Because they're encoded into the blockchain. Can you imagine if Satoshi were active today? Would he be mentioning the Biden administration in a block? Maybe,
Maybe.
based on what's happening with the banking system here and recent announcements. Are we about to have that moment again? I mean, I remember living through 2008 and not liking it very much, but here we are again. So
Yeah, it's sad, but it's an opportunity that I think they are also seizing, and that us in crypto, we need to again have difficult conversations, because uh, a lot of what we've done in crypto is allow them to psyop us, for us to fall into psyops where we are diverted from different purposes of these technologies. And a lot of it has to do with this tribalism that people in crypto, and I've fallen into, everyone's fallen into to some degree or another. You know, tribalism that keeps us from really having a wider perspective as to what really is happening here. And the truth is that these bankster class, they know that crypto, that Bitcoin is here to stay. They know that they cannot get rid of this. So their whole game plan has always been, how can we manipulate this? How can we take this and turn it into something that we can use to our favor? How is it that how can we still stay in power? And we're at the point where we're seeing this manifest itself. A lot of the networks that people thought were driven by grassroots crypto communities, people are starting to realize through research that no, that there were actors behind that. And we can get into all these conversations. I mean, we can talk forever about these things.
yeah, that we talked about that before we started recording. That's the one risk of this conversation. We could go filibuster, man. We could probably be here for 4 hours. So maybe on Twitch sometime. Maybe we do that.
Nice.
But yeah, to your point, people making these discoveries that are inconvenient and they're unpleasant conversations, like you said before.
Like
But they're truthful.
for example, the fact that, you know, a lot of the funding of what led to the creation of BTC came from Bilderberg, from AXA, a digital currency group, which is one of the biggest entities in all of crypto, that owns the vast majority of news outlets. That one of their biggest shareholders is MasterCard. You know, that when you study the history of Ethereum and consensus and in the infrastructure behind Ethereum, you find JP Morgan. And so you have to ask yourself what's going on here. And you have to be very critical, because what would be the end game of the bankster class? The end game of the bankster class would be to, yes, give you crypto because they know they can't get rid of it, satiate that need, but at the same time, um, distort it, and to the point where you are still depending on them. And that's, in a lot of ways, what we're noticing in crypto right now manifests itself in the way that people have trusted externalities to anything on a blockchain. And so, Seth, I want to make this one observation to you, because you've been in the space for a while, and I want to get your take on this. I'm very curious. But we have this technology of the blockchain. We have this technology of triple entry accounting. We have these technologies already. And we have entities out there that want to provide liquidity in crypto, that want to come in, but they don't use the crypto tech itself. It makes no sense to me that an entity like FTX, they sold you crypto, but they never used the blockchain itself. So could you imagine an exchange where every block of time on whatever blockchain they were to use, right, you had, proof of reserves? That would be fascinating, right? That would be incredible, right? And it's not like we don't have the technology or the means to do this. We do. We have we just in the field of zero knowledge proofs, we have many different ways and techniques of verifying reserves without compromising any entities or anything whatsoever. We also have the ability to have exchanges on chain. Like, we could have these exchanges happen on chain.
Oh yeah,
it's happening right now, dude. What's even crazy? There's
Yeah.
exchanges on BTC happening on chain right now. Like right now, on the blockchain that they told you was the most crippled of blockchains, the one that you could not build anything on chain, Bitcoiners are proving to the world that on the BTC blockchain itself, you can build on-chain exchanges. So don't tell me we don't have these technologies and that we can't use them, and then try to sell me crypto by you yourself never using the technology itself. And that's what blows my mind. And then we have, dependencies on banks, like we're seeing with this bank run that's happening, right?
Yeah.
That's not crypto. Those are banks.
Right. Well, and FTX too. You mentioned the implosion of FTX and related failures in the crypto ecosystem, like Celsius. You have a lot of people who express their doubt about cryptocurrency and blockchains in general when they see stuff like that. But Rafael, they're not acknowledging what you and I know, that that's centralized finance. By its definition, that's actually centralized finance, and it has more in common with banks than it does with crypto. Despite holding your crypto, it has more in common with the former custodians of our value, which Satoshi tried to warn us about, not to trust them, right? But to make everything verifiable and to put it onto a blockchain system so that regardless of how it was created, you can police it by having that transparency. But yeah, you have these groups that they were clearly not transparent at all in their reserves, and clearly not transparent at all in their trades and what they were doing with customer deposits. And which, again, has more in common with, speaking of customer deposits and not making people whole the correct way, the whole Credit Suisse debacle of making the shareholders whole before making the bondholders whole. It's everything that we saw during the last economic meltdown, but actually bigger because of the size of the subprime lending that took place from that time until now. Like, most people don't know how incredibly messed up the banking system, well, how messed up it was before, and how much worse it's gotten since 2008, actually, that it hasn't gotten better. The oversight has not improved. If you want to take the regulatory side, the oversight hasn't improved. And the behaviors and habits of some of these banksters, they've gotten even, more brazen than before in terms of the risks that they'll take and whether or not they think that they'll be taken care of by the government. So yeah, no, I mean, agreed on so many levels. And yeah, totally. What's happening in crypto that scares the average person away looks so much more like a really bad crypto bank than like actually crypto or decentralization.
A lot of this has to do with the fact that, during the Bitcoin civil war, the small blockers started vouching for a layered approach to scaling. The moment that they brought in that term, layered approach to scaling, in other words, depend on externalities to the blockchain. Just listen to that. You know, you are gonna, the health of the network is now going to be dependent on externalities to the blockchain. What does that mean? That means we no longer have control. It means that if you're not scaling on chain, you don't really have the everything that Satoshi gave us. You don't have a Byzantine fault tolerant network. You don't have the interconnectivity and interoperability that you would have within one single network topology of the small world network of the blockchain itself, where we're all connected to one another via two hops. You don't have the cost efficiency that we have when we transmit to just two hops away for me to be connected to all my peer nodes, and you don't have the speed. So the moment you go off chain, at that moment, you literally threw the baby out with the bathwater. And what everybody's realizing now in crypto, and this is the big news, anyone watching this, if you take anything from this conversation, is this is it. The big news is, and this is what no one expected, MIT grads that were behind FTX and everyone in crypto, nobody expected the fact that the future will be on chain. And then out of nowhere, out of left field, this guy named Casey Rodarmore created ordinals and gave people on BTC, on the biggest network, the ability to create digital goods. Because listen, yeah, sure, they're NFTs, but it's much more than this. You have to understand this is digital assets on chain. And within a week, within 3 days, we already had 2 competitive on-chain exchanges on BTC. There is no playbook. There is no VC. There is no VC incubator to teach an entrepreneur how to do this. This came completely grassroots, and what we saw happen with ordinals, and we're still to this day. It's been like 60 days. We've seen more movement and more traffic to BTC through ordinals in the past 60 days than what we saw from the Silicon Valley VC-driven push for an off-chain scaling Lightning Network world. So
Yeah.
that goes to show you how quick things are going to happen now, where we had and nobody cared for BTC. Most people did not care for BTC at all in crypto. And all of a sudden you had Solana devs, Ethereum devs from Polygon, from all over the space started running BTC full nodes. In 24 hours, there was a complete convergence where people completely took their focus out of their pet projects and went to BTC. So
Yeah.
I think that what we're going to start seeing are seismic shifts like that in crypto, because people are maturing and moving beyond this tribalism, especially the real smart people. Like I said,
Yeah.
If you want to be tribal and a maximalist, by all means do that. As an investor, I want you to be. But guess what? Everyone else is also now starting to think like an investor, and they're going to the blockchains. They're converging to blockchains where they get the most out of that one network. Instead of using 7 different networks, they'll use one where they can have it all. And so,
and Rafael, I sorry for the interruption here, but my thesis is that, well, I think we see it, that during times of uncertainty, investors always run to safety. You'll see it in durable goods, you'll see it in prepper materials, and now I think what you're saying, we're also seeing it in blockchains where you have all the security of the King Daddy, BTC. I mean, I'm not going to say anything inflammatory about BCH or BSV at all, because I think there's some brilliant people in those ecosystems, like absolutely brilliant. But the hash rate is undeniably over in Bitcoin, BTC. Like, there's nothing beats its proof of work security network. I mean, the global hash rate there is it's a force to be reckoned with. Nation states apparently can't touch it, at least not yet. They haven't found a way to interfere with the consensus of Bitcoin. So yeah, turning to safety and being able to build in an environment where at bare minimum, you're secure. Yeah, what's not to love about that? If you can find other ways to shoehorn your projects and your development into that environment, you know it's going to endure. You know it's going to live. So it increases the likelihood of Bitcoin becoming that blockchain that the future is written on that you've been talking about. So yeah, I'm seeing it. We had a guest on Mind Your Biz not long ago from the Raptorium project. He goes by the handle Big Piggy, and they the moment they started seeing ordinals pop up and become a thing, he said, oh yeah, I was a developer in this space in 2010, 2011. I remember colored coins. I remember op check sig multisig and op return and what we were trying to do back then. You know what? I'll try my hand at it again. And he blew my mind with that, you know, with his storytelling from that time because he lived through it. But yeah, it's obvious that some of the sharpest people, some of the best and brightest across the blockchain ecosystem, just like you said, they've been magnetically drawn to what's happening on Bitcoin again because of ordinals, because it goes so far beyond putting funny pictures on a chain.
Right.
Like light years beyond. So yeah, I'm with it, man. Absolutely. I'm picking up what you're throwing down for sure.
Yeah. It's so this notion of, you know, how within 24 hours, FTX lost billions of dollars, right? We're going to see movements of money in the opposite direction of wealth creation with on-chain protocols that work. So right now, the movement went to BTC, but as you know, BTC has a cap as to how much space you can have per block of time. But more than that, like what your buddy Mr. Piggy said, what's his name?
He goes by Big Piggy. Yeah.
Big Piggy.
His name's David Owen. Yeah.
Yes. So what he said is he's spot on, because not only is this block size important, but also the script size, right? The ability to compute script in Bitcoin, because in Bitcoin lingo, a smart contract in the old days was referred to as the ability to compute script. So what's interesting and what's happening right now is that we're starting to see small movements with ordinals. Actually, it's not small in their capacity, but huge in their cultural shift, where people in BTC all of a sudden became big blockers. So that's what happened. Everyone's a big blocker now. All Bitcoiners are big blockers now.
Right.
So like,
it's funny because they're also seeing like, oh, the mining is more profitable again. Just as you were starting to see a FUD cycle about the year 2140, when Bitcoin is running on fees only and not on new coins emitted, right? For mining and security. So they have all these people who are I mean, they've got like this galaxy vision of like, wow, Bitcoin could work. It could really work. But to your point, they're having to bend their moral stance from before and move from small block to big block. It's fun.
BTC is a big block blockchain right now. It is.
Yeah.
BTC, the whole rhetoric of this is only digital gold, only to be hodled. The only thing that matters is to scale off chain. That died. I don't know if Casey realized this, but he murdered. Ordinals murdered the small blocker rhetoric. That doesn't exist in BTC anymore. Anyone that would come up on BTC and say, well, you know what, guys, actually, we need to actually decrease the block size even more and take away the ability to do ordinals on chain, that person will get crucified. It's not going to happen. BTC is a big blocker blockchain that is limited. Now, this is a question that I have for you, Seth.
Okay.
People are getting a taste of freedom, and markets are being created right now. Midjourney just opened up shop. Bored Apes just opened up shop in BTC. You have OpenSea is about to open up shop, and you have the creation of partially signed Bitcoin transactions, which allow you to create an on-chain exchange. It's already happening on BTC. So there's no excuse for us to ever trust our money to an FTX anymore in the future. See, you guys have to understand that what happened with ordinals, it's much more than just stupid JPEGs. Right. This has to do with the ability to trade on chain. This is the ability to create exchanges on chain of all goods and services. The genius of ordinals is this. This is so meta, dude. Is that ordinals does not care to trade Ethereum, for Cardano, for Monero. No, the mindset of the ordinal developer is one that is living in a post-hyper-Bitcoinization world. That's where they're at. And what do you do when you live in a post-hyper-Bitcoinization world? You have fun. And you trade things that are native to Bitcoin only.
Yeah.
And that is like the big blocker dream. So it's crazy that after the Civil War and all of this shit that we had, and billions, millions of billions of dollars invested in off-chain infrastructure, right? And all of the propaganda with El Salvador, here comes a couple renegade rebels to say, we're just going to start creating markets on-chain in BTC, whether you like it or not. It takes off. There's a giant convergence from the rest of crypto into BTC. BTC is now a big blocker blockchain. And now we have the potential of another quote unquote Bitcoin civil war, which I don't think will happen. I think that in BTC, they're going to be strong arm into scaling on chain, because if they don't, another convergence is going to happen elsewhere where those capabilities are done elsewhere. Because the big thing, Seth, is the notion of parallel scaling. Okay. So what happened with the account-based model that we were given through Ethereum is that it has a vertical scaling methodology where it's as if, imagine you ran a bus station, and every time you got new passengers, you had to take the bus. You only had one bus, take it to the shop and add more seats and make the bus bigger. That's crazy. That's the way the account-based model that Ethereum uses works, because the entire global state of the network changes every time there's a movement within the blockchain. The genius of Satoshi with the UTXO model is that the global state is on the UTXOs themselves, and they don't affect, there's not a global change. In other words, it's like owning a bus station, but if you get more customers, all you do is you buy more miners. You buy more computer power. That's it. You just buy more buses to fit these passengers in. So the UTXO model is one of those things that has been completely ignored in crypto history. And I would say that it was on purpose. I think the banksters wanted to move us and our attention away from the UTXO model that Satoshi gave us, so that they can, and you know, interestingly enough, the account-based model comes from the banks. It's what the banks use. And they told you, you want smart contracts? Go use Ethereum. But like, and so everyone turned away from Bitcoin, the UTXO model that Satoshi gave us. But there are some rebels and some rebel Bitcoiners that said no, and they just kept messing with these technologies and experimenting with them. So the moment that Casey opened that tiny door, he cracked the door open with ordinals. All of these guys that have been preparing for a decade, man. And I'm telling you, Seth, this is huge what I'm telling you right now, man. Guys that have been preparing for a decade, that have been completely engaged with Bitcoin's computational power. That one thing that they told you can't look at. You don't forget about it. Colored coins, like your friend, what's he, Big Piggy?
Yeah, David Morris.
Yeah, he's like, hey, don't pay attention to that. Forget about that, Bitcoiner. Don't concern yourself with computing script, with smart contracts on chain on Bitcoin. All of a sudden, this wave just came right back in. And
well, you know what's funny? I'm sorry to interruption here. What's funny about him and the project that he had been building, Raptorium, was that he had forked the Ravencoin code base, which I'm sure you've studied it because you mean your study of UTXO based systems, and their whole thing. With no disrespect to Tron Black, I went out to his campus where they've sponsored all of the core developers who stay right there at the Overstock campus for them to develop full time on Ravencoin. That what they added to their fork of Bitcoin was the ability to very quickly create assets inside of the wallet client, just a fork of Bitcoin Core, and then have direct access to the OP return field in a very simple way. And so there have been Bitcoiners who kind of remembered it and said, yeah, OP return it's pretty powerful. It's not Turing complete. It's not everything you'd want to do with a computer, but you don't actually need everything to just make it marginally more useful, right? And do a lot of things, right? You don't need it to compute everything, to just call other script, like you're saying, and just become more generally useful. And so he had forked the Ravencoin code base and had to rebase from that because Ravencoin made some big mistakes with the way that they implemented those and had hidden inflation bugs and in these assets that users could make in the wallet client. They had a few missteps, but I mean, somebody with that kind of institutional memory or that kind of like sort of cultural memory of what had happened in Bitcoin so long ago. The moment he saw ordinals, I mean, all the OGs, Rafael, all the OGs, just they immediately got it. That's why they suddenly
100%.
changed their tune, right? They were like, oh shit, it's happening. Like we all
Yes.
knew it was kind of possible, but we stopped building there. And now, like you said, now that that's been cracked open again, like you'd be crazy not to build on it because
100%.
it clearly works.
Yes. And like, dude, like hearing your story like makes me sad because that's the story of everyone in crypto pretty much, because they were told you can't build on Bitcoin. And that's why we had a civil war. You can't build on Bitcoin, go build somewhere else. And it turns out, it just happens to turn out that in spite of Bitcoin in its original design being the first technology we received that, on a massive scale as a blockchain and so forth, it's still the best in so many ways. And so there's this, we're going to be seeing many seismic Copernican revolutions in crypto to come, and they're going to happen faster than we think, Seth. I think that we are just at the cusp of Balaji. He said he sees Bitcoin at it says Bitcoin at $1 million within 3 months. It's been 6 days since he said it. We have 84 days to go. Yesterday I did the math, and that's 4.35% gain daily for Bitcoin in order to reach that goal. That's not out of this world in crypto terms. So will we see Bitcoin at $1 million? Yes. We're gonna see so much movement in this market. It's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be unbelievable. And it's sad because look, I'll tell you something, Seth. Your friend was held back 10 years in his development, that he had to go elsewhere and create another network. He had to create another blockchain, another protocol for him to do what he wanted to do. But imagine if we from day one, we would have been able to play with Bitcoin and do whatever we wanted. And honestly, I think that those guys, the people that held us from completely embracing everything that Satoshi gave us, they're going to go down in history as people that are not going to have the greatest of reputation, because we're going to look back and we're going to be like, why was it that for 10 years they told us we couldn't do it on chain with all of these, in my opinion, fallacies, right? Now, Seth, we need to talk about privacy because as much as the movement can happen towards Bitcoin, it could happen towards a privacy coin as well.
Well, beyond that, it can happen in a couple of ways towards privacy. There are a couple developers who've talked about, while it is a very fringe case and hard to imagine right now, that ordinals could be printed on Monero. It's much more difficult to make happen, but there is a possibility of getting there.
I think
and
they're
then
doing
because
it actually.
They're trying. Yeah, they're I mean,
Mortals.
See, I blinked. I the last time I checked in was 10 days ago. You can't do that in this space, right?
No, you can't do that, man.
But
I feel you. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Here.
But with Litecoin too, right? You got Taproot enabled in Litecoin, which is kind of the real exploit, if you will, exploit for ordinals that made it on UTXO systems, that made it so viable that prior to that point, you had OP return and you had OP checksig, multisig as fields where you could inject some data into each block, but it was not quite the same level of inscription onto the blockchain as Taproot enabled. So we had to have that Taproot upgrade on these UTXO systems to make ordinals what they are right now and make them viable for these exchanges, these dexes, like you're saying right now. And so Litecoin with the MWeb extension, I mean, man, I wouldn't have thought that I'd be saying this a year or two ago, that MWeb is making itself a more privacy focused, viable version of this new building paradigm of ordinals. There weren't enough pieces in place yet, but you talk about privacy preserving decentralized finance, and now building on UTXOs again. And all of a sudden, the whole claim of Litecoin being silver to Bitcoin's gold, it's starting to look relevant again. It's starting to look real again to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
just one way.
it's you know, I what we're gonna see is that there's going to be, this is the thing, Seth. I agree with you, but I think people are gonna keep converging. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah. No, I believe that too.
It's like
Yeah,
I think the experimental phase of crypto, in a sense, has ended because we went through a phase of being told we can't build this on one single blockchain. And what Ordinals is starting to show you is that number one, people are not that loyal. People will move. People will move. And
yeah,
number two, that it is possible to do for a blockchain to be more than a one-trick pony. So I think that there will be a lot more convergence than we think. And I think that we're going to see a lot of networks die. But at the same time, there's going to be such a massive move towards crypto worldwide that it's it's even hard to say what I just did because everyone's just going to come to crypto. And so it's yeah, I think there's definitely going to be a lot more disparity between like Bitcoin and altcoins as time goes on. And I think that there's going to be networks that are just going to take the life of their own, and they're going to kind of like, in a sense, depeg from BTC and just rock it on their own. And they're going to reach all-time highs in ways that we've never thought an altcoin to be possible, to have
sure.
that as a possibility since like 2017, because
Yeah. No, totally agree.
a lot of people think that the Bitcoin dominance is here to stay. And just a couple days ago, we saw we saw the we're starting to see a convergence around Darrow. Have you heard of Darrow? It's like the
Yeah, I have.
privacy Ethereum.
Yeah, and I have not interviewed anyone from Dero. It's I should, but yes,
I can
I'm
introduce you to
somewhat
some of
familiar with
them.
Dero. I like
They're
that.
it's a pretty cool community, and they are, first thing that I got from Darrow is that they're not playing around. They're very professional, and they're all about their OPSEC, dude. Monero, people in Monero are very private, but dude, people in Darrow are super private, and yeah, it's wild, dude. So it's a new network, but it's the first proof of work blockchain that is private by default that allows you to have uh, the smart contracts on chain.
Hmm.
So it's unlike anything else in crypto. And do we have the components to create blockchains that would rival this? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We have the components necessary for someone to come and compete with Darrow, but that doesn't exist. Like there's not another proof of work privacy by default smart contract protocol on the planet. So they have that first to market advantage. So all of a sudden we started seeing a rise in Darrow, right? Just a couple days ago, that to me was shocking, and it showed me that like, wow, this thing's taking a life of its own. Um, and they say that Bitcoin dominance is something that a lot of altcoins, once they reach like all-time highs, they have a hard time going back to that previous all-time high in comparison to Bitcoin. But I feel as if what's about to happen in crypto, because of all this craziness with the banks and the convergence that we saw with ordinals
Yeah.
as the example of what could happen anywhere in crypto, I see us moving into very um turbulent but positive times. Like this bull market coming up is going to be crazy, and I really think that Balaji, what he's saying about Bitcoin to $1 million in 3 months, I don't think that's crazy. I think that's so doable, dude. It's only, again, 4.3% increase valuation every day since yesterday, which is totally doable, man.
Yeah. Now that said, we did see a pullback, I think, between yesterday and today. But so like we were saying before, man, uh a lot can happen in a day, right? Crypto, it just it's a time warp, right? A day feels like a week feels like a month, or and vice versa. You can really mess with your relative experience of time for sure, because of the charts that we look at, and block times too. Really try to live one block at a time if you can.
Yeah,
But
Seth.
I'm kind of curious. Yeah,
Yeah, sure,
switching gears a little bit. I'm
sure,
kind
sure.
of curious, and this is we're going to throw a wrench into our discussion about privacy and about blockchains. Do you have exposure to Pulse Chain and the Pulse and Hex community, and how do they strike you?
Oh man, look. So Thumper says, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. And so that's where I'm going to keep it.
Fair.
I think that all blockchain experiment. This is my PC uh, snippet here. I think I'm all for experimentation on with all of these technologies. I just don't care for what you just mentioned. But I will
Got
say
it.
this. I will say this. We are moving into such a crazy world that I think privacy is still going to be extremely underrated. Because look, this is kind of a question that I have for you, Seth. Because
Yeah.
it seems like the world really cares for interoperability, cost efficiency, speed, and the ability to do cool things. And so,
Yeah.
but when it comes to privacy, privacy has always been something that people are like, okay, cool, nice, yeah, I like that that option is there. But
Yeah.
it seems to me that with the craziness of the bank runs, I think we're going to start seeing a huge emphasis on privacy coins. And, you know, when I see like something like Pirate Chain, have you heard of Pirate Chain?
Yeah, shout out to
Yeah.
Drath that had him on the channel. Not, I guess it's been over 2 years now, and I guess JL777 shout out for creating an ecosystem where Pirate Chain could exist. So yes, I know it.
Dude, so like something like Pirate Chain is so underrated because it's it's like if you like Monero, dude, this is like has an anonymity set that just dwarfs what's within Monero, and it's what everybody ever wanted Zcash to be. And when you see when you hear someone speak of the likes of like Daniel Kim, someone that has an office that caters to the needs of high net worth family offices, you hear him and other individuals like him say that what they care for most is to get away from financial voyeurism. And I really think that we're going to see convergence around privacy coins. I don't know when it will happen, but when it happens, it probably will be crazier than anything we've ever seen. So that's something that I know will happen eventually, but for just as a matter of self-preservation, I think that everyone should have some exposure to privacy coins, because we live in a world where we're constantly under surveillance, and it's just going to get worse.
Yeah,
Right?
no, totally. I think like you're saying with
Crazy.
what people look for in a technology, you mentioned the list of efficiency and speed, and then like I guess novelty, doing cool things with it and stuff. And then they don't really look for privacy in technology. It's so funny. Human nature, when you take advanced technology out of the picture, yeah, of course we look for privacy, man. We used to pass, like in our lifetimes, we used to pass handwritten notes because that was the only option we had, right? And we had them folded up so no one else could see. And when we were done with them, we either ripped them up or we burned them or we ran them underwater until it was pulp and couldn't be read anymore. Like we had perfect privacy in an analog world. We really did.
Right.
We never knew. I mean, at that point, we didn't know that it was like never going to be better for us from a privacy perspective. But then, enter the mass adoption of cell phones and texting in the clear. We didn't even know what we were doing. Right? We assumed it was private. We assumed it was as private as like passing a handwritten note, and we just didn't know. I think most people, when given the option, like if it were a checkbox and they knew that it was privacy, and they had to like the default option was like, yeah, it's private, and they had to actively remove privacy, most people would just leave privacy there. I think you're right. I think there
Right.
will be convergence when people realize it again, but most people just don't know, or they presume that it's impossible to have privacy. So they just say, whatever. I'm already using the internet. I'm already using my cell phone. Everyone's tracking me all the time. Nothing's private anymore. I give up. But they just, I think they just need to have the epiphany, have the moment where they realize that it's possible to reclaim some privacy, at least in some areas of their life again. And yeah, private by default coins, they do make that a reality because it's like you can't use them any other way. So like any exposure to have to Pirate Chain or Monero or any other coin that is that's private by default, at least based on the wallet client, where maybe the networks are not private by default. Anytime that users start to see that, it brings their mind back into that mindset. On that note, let me ask you, with the Samurai wallet devs and what their implementation of CoinJoin on Bitcoin, like is this something that the Crypto Vigilante team, the Dollar Vigilante team or Crypto Vigilante, are they on board with it? Do you like privacy on Bitcoin, or do you feel like it's kind of not the ideal for Bitcoin?
Well, I really like the Samurai team, and we think that what they're doing is extremely noble, and we're really happy that they're doing it, because them and Sparrow Wallet and Ronin Dojo, because it's just weird, Seth, that like people forgot how important this is. And no, I mean, we really commend them for doing what they're doing with Whirlpool, with the ability of obfuscating transactions. We do know that it's in BTC and in any Bitcoin protocol, or any, we call them transparent coins because they really are. There's just no real way of being completely private on Bitcoin. You can obfuscate and tire them out. So what they do is that like you can tire out someone that is doing financial voyeurism on you by creating more hops and moving the money around more. But probabilistically, if someone is motivated enough and they have the finances and the team and the technology to do the blockchain analytics necessary, they will be able to track
Yeah,
any transaction in Bitcoin, even if you were to use Whirlpool. Now, the Samurai team is counting on the fact that, like, for example, an exchange only looks back like, last time I looked into it was like 15 hops, 15 transactions back in time. But what if there's a motivated group that says, you know what, we're going to go after these guys for whatever they're doing, which it's, to a certain degree, that's cool with me. Like, hey, if you're trafficking children, I want your ass to get caught. So yeah, I want you I want you to be using a transparent coin,
yeah,
so we can track and trace your ass. But it's so it's a thing that comes down to our dignity, and the fact that if we lose our privacy, we really do lose an aspect of who we are.
yeah.
and
Well, it
and
seems like
it's
there's
yeah.
studies on this too, right? Where when so people's behavior is measurably altered when they know they're under surveillance. If you just put a camera in a room, it can be disconnected, right? It doesn't even have to
Yeah,
lead anywhere. But if you put a camera in a room and people think there's a camera observing everything they do, they will change their behavior.
that's true.
And like you're saying, that dignity is lost when every time you're about to do anything, you're like, oh, well, am I naked in front of the camera? Air quotes, the camera. If it's financial voyeurism, like you're saying, it's like, oh well, maybe I don't want to buy those special chocolates while I'm visiting Denver or whatever. Like maybe I can't bring those across state lines, and that should be uncontroversial in today's world. Absolutely should be. But
Yeah,
like you're saying, that the lack of financial privacy forces people to have to think about it, or it forces them into cash. I mean, we don't view privacy in the US dollar as controversial. Everybody here feels very confident just holding cash, using it, buying things with relative privacy. And I don't know why there's such a pushback with some people of going into blockchains and allowing for something to function like digital cash. But yeah, but behavior totally does change when it's observed. So
yeah.
to
I,
your
I I
point,
think, yeah, I think the privacy community has to be very cognizant of this and realize that people won't necessarily choose to use their network or their applications because they're private. They have to be good in spite of being private. Does that make sense?
yeah, no, well, it's
They
kind of
have to be
like yeah,
competitive whether they're private or not. And yeah, it's you're right. It's sad that we have to have these conversations. I wonder what we could do, or what the crypto community could do to emphasize the importance of this anymore, because evermore, because there's nothing wrong with being out in the open. They're just tools, right? Like we use Twitter, we use YouTube, but there is also a necessity for your private life to be secured. You know, the ability to close the door when you go to when you're in your house and lock the gate. Um, it,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. No,
it's one of
totally
those
agree.
things, man. It's
Yeah, I wonder about that too. You know, in Denver, I went to the ETH Denver show and spoke with the leadership team from Railgun, as well as Tor Bear from Secret Network, in the Cosmos ecosystem. Right, they have the hardware based security that they use, which is not perfect, but it's kind of like, it's good enough. Is kind of how they view it, and it helps fill a need in a privacy stack. But he said something that I found very interesting, and I wish I could use the footage from ETH Denver. We had a system failure there in the podcasting booth, but so I want to attribute this correctly. But Tor brought it up. He just said, "Yeah, most people think of privacy as hiding. Privacy is just protection. That's it. The way you laid it out, it's a lock on your door. It's it's a swing fence on your gate that you can keep shut. It's not going to keep out the most determined attackers or the government, right? When they think that there's a reasonable cause to investigate you, they're going to be persistent, right? They're going to find the means to overcome those measures. But it is going to keep the voyeurism at bay, like you were saying. It will keep those low effort voyeurs who just think it's their right and their privilege to peer in on everything you do. It'll keep them out of your life, hopefully. And so, yeah, I love the way that was phrased. That it's not, privacy isn't hiding, privacy is just protection.
Yeah, it really is. And so it's almost like one thing that I've noticed is almost like people losing their scruples, because do you understand what I mean by that? Like, imagine the person who if you go 1 week without showering, you probably feel uncomfortable, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But what if you live in a situation where you have to go years without showering because you're in a concentration camp, God forbid, you lose that you lose that disgust of like, dude, I need a shower over time. You lose
Well,
that
but it's also
scruple.
because you've also felt you've been dehumanized because you're not free. You're
But
not
that's
free to do
exactly
those things
it.
if you feel like it. Yeah.
But that's exactly it. People are being dehumanized. Like, you hit
Yeah.
the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. You people that lose their scruples are people that are dehumanized. It's like the prostitute that just sells her body and keeps selling her body and just doesn't care who touches her. Now,
Yeah.
she's been dehumanized to an object to a point where it's like she doesn't care. And
Yeah.
so
And
it's sad,
yeah.
but that's literally what's happening to us, because we don't have privacy, because we are completely being pimped out by big
Yeah.
tech, that we've been dehumanized. I love what you just said. You're
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. No, your point. Yeah, it's being pimped out by big tech, right? Our data and our metadata, every layer of data that we have that we work with on the connected systems, the internet. They'll try to exploit all of it, right? Like head to toe. They want to know everything about us so they can go sell it, make a quick buck on anything they can find out about us, including financial data and metadata.
Well,
So
Seth, this is the point right here that I think is the most important point in all of crypto history. I come from the school of thought that I think that what Satoshi gave us is to fight against this itself. That this was the reason why why Bitcoin was created. It was created to compete with big tech, so that we can own our data, and so that we can do something that big tech cannot do with our data once they take it from us. We're able to protect our own data with Bitcoin proof of work, and we can go straight to connect with peers or miners or Bitcoin businesses themselves for interacting in this new internet that is Bitcoin. So for me, it's obvious. I'm an extreme big blocker when it came to the Bitcoin civil war. To me, Bitcoin was a new internet, and this was the conversation that, in my opinion, they did not want us to have back then. And this is why they told us to scale off chain, to forget about scaling on chain, to forget about computing script. And this is why ordinals is so important, because we're starting to see a convergence around this idea. And it's beautiful how it's all happening in crypto Bitcoin history, that it's happening after a time where we had FTX. It's happening during a time where we have another bank run. So people are starting to realize, well, if we have these technologies, why aren't we using them to their full capacity? And that's really where I think the cusp of the conversation in crypto is happening right now, Seth. And what I'm about to tell, I think is extremely important, man. Yeah. We're at the tipping point right now where the smartest of people in crypto are having this conversation right here. Why can't we build it all on chain? And there's going to be many anti-capitalist reasons why. A lot of them are literally socialist driven, because everyone should build their own car, they'll tell you, because the productive capacity of capitalists should be limited in order for the sake of fairness, right? But they use other words in crypto, right? Like decentralization and whatever else they want to throw out there. Fairness, right? Egalitarianism. But in reality, we have these technologies, and as the market specializes in understanding what these technologies are capable of in their fullness, we're going to see convergence unlike we've ever seen before. And this is what they don't want you guys to know. They don't want you guys to know that we have these capacities, because they want to keep you enslaved to their systems. They want to keep you focused on just using their networks and what they give you, so that they can keep using you the way that they want to use you most, which is by taking away all of your precious creativity and content that you create, so that they can monopolize it and use you as the product. That's literally all they really want. And that's the craziest thing, Seth, is that when people talk about NFTs, people think, oh, they're just stupid pictures. No, dude, they're the window into hedging your bet on all of human creativity. It is a mountain, it is a fountain of wealth greater than anything else in human existence, in our universe. It's in our minds, dude. And big tech knows this. That's why they say data's the new gold. Data's the new gold. They want to mine our data. That's what they want. So if we're able to escape that matrix by creating an on-chain economy that is completely excludes them and is completely separate from them, then we can create a world where we actually are free from them. But the moment anyone tells you, like, dude, you got to use this external thing, this second layer, at that moment, you're putting this precious thing called crypto into the hands of those lizards again. And we can't fall into that trap anymore. So this is a huge deal, man. And I think I talk about this a lot, because I think we're at the cusp of, we either have hyper Bitcoinization happen the right way, or hyper whateverization in hyper cryptozation to happen the right way, where we like control our own data, or we're going to be subject to like the craziest tyranny where we can't allow AI to completely take over before hyper Bitcoinization happens, guys. That's really the bottom line. Because if we just sit around and don't do what we're supposed to, we're going to find ourselves in a very fucked up situation where you really won't have any privacy at all. And the good news, Seth, is that
any property rights.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. A lot of stuff.
We really don't need that much people, guys, to make this happen. We need the smartest of people. And that's it. All it takes really is a couple applications well done on chain to create the convergence necessary. And it's already happening, actually. I think ordinals is the gateway drug to hyper Bitcoinization. It's already happening.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I mean, it's so we've seen now, we saw it in 2008. We're going to see it. We're seeing it now again, that the sort of the toxicity of derivatives and of cheap loans from centralized banks has created serious problems in the world. And I think, like you're saying, the antidote to that is being able to create our own derivatives on chain that are open, right? That are censorship resistant, so people can just look under the hood and see exactly what's there. And if there's no substance, the market decides to move on, right? Like
100%.
free markets tend to do that. So print whatever you want in ordinals, make whatever you want on chain. Is it garbage? The market will let you know, right? And if it's JPEGs and people want to value JPEGs, fine. Let people trade whatever they want. That's what freedom looks like. It should be a little dangerous, right? So if you really want to do something risky, that's freedom. That's your right to do so. But if you have open, permissionless, and censorship resistant systems, like you're saying, whether they're like fully decentralized, use the buzzwords to make it sound egalitarian, whether all that stuff, all those boxes are checked as well, as long as it's censorship resistant, open, and free for people to use, just access, right? Access. Then we're going to weed out the junk, right? The nasty stuff that gets printed on chain. I mean, newsflash, there are hashes of really salacious and nasty material that were written onto Bitcoin's blockchain over 10 years ago, just for kicks, right? Just to make sure that it was actually censorship resistant. People have done that. Now, it wasn't actually an image of anything naughty, but there are people who they just said, hey, I want to prove that this is actually censorship resistant. So they found the worst material they could, and they created a hash and put that into the OP return of Bitcoin. It's there, right? So it's proven that Bitcoin has that censorship resistance. So I tend to agree with you pretty much almost without reservation that, yeah, we do need to choose that future, though. And we do need, like you're saying, this, I've got no reservation joining you in that call to action, right? That call to arms to the best and brightest. Choose to build now.
And you know something
if
crazy.
If we miss the moment, right, there is such a thing as too late.
That's right. Exactly. There's a window of time for everything. But I want to tell you something, dude. There's something crazy that happened in crypto and no one even noticed it, dude. No one noticed it. We solved the onboarding problem in crypto. So how does this work, dude? So check this out. And pay close attention to ordinals, because ordinals is going to lead people to this. Okay. If you allowed Bitcoin to scale on chain, as it's obviously market is demanding for it to happening on BTC, sooner you will realize that the more traffic you have on chain, because people are creating goods and services on chain, the more cheaper transaction fees will be, because miners will have their costs paid, taken care of, right? It's like having a burger joint, right? If you have hundreds of thousands of customers, you can sell the good quality burger cheaper. So transaction fees will be cheaper over time, to the point where in different, we'll call them sandboxes of Bitcoin forks, we're seeing transaction fees be 1/300th of a penny. Wow. That means that with $300, I can subsidize $300, me alone, I can subsidize 20,000 encryptions on the Bitcoin protocol. That means that if we community fund this endeavor, any artist or entrepreneur in the world can come in and literally just bring in their talent. This is all they're doing. They're bringing in their talents. They're creating a Bitcoin wallet to interact with this new internet we call Bitcoin, right? Of on-chain scaling. And they're creating art on-chain for free. The minting is free, community subsidized, because it costs us 1/300th of a penny. And you just put that out into Bitcoin for free, and they're getting paid for their labor in Bitcoin from whoever buys it. And that's one of the craziest things that we lost in BTC during the Bitcoin Civil War, is the ability to have microtransactions and nanotransactions. Because when you have an on-chain economy, a microtransaction allows you one thing: profit, dude. The fact that if I can profit every time you like something. See, the like, people must underestimate the power of the like button, dude. The like button is probably one of the biggest things in computer science history. No one has even fucking thought about how significant it is. The like button allows you to send a message with just tapping something. Like, it created a new language, right? Thumbs up, like, heart.
That's true. Even text messages, you out of your way to give a thumbs up emoji. I mean, that we were trained to do that with how addictive it became.
Yeah. So it's like imagine now if every like was in itself something that you can split off into a bunch of UTXOs to pay people nano pennies for every single like.
Yeah. No, So
So
yeah,
this
play to
shit's
earn.
possible. This shit's
Right.
possible in Bitcoin's original design, and that's what we're getting
Yeah.
back to with ordinals, which is fascinating.
Yeah, no, totally agreed. So we're a little over an hour right now, and I'm just gonna say, Rafael, this has been such an engaging, engrossing discussion. Like, I can't wait to do it again. I'm bummed that I'm not going to be at Monerotopia because
Oh
we'll
man.
be in Estonia for the Talon, some of the Talon events there. So, and what I'm really hoping we can do is, while everybody's out at Monerotopia, I'm hoping that we can set up a remote event, right? So that we have some of the politicians that I'm meeting with in Estonia and the Baltics and Nordic region, and
Okay.
type in the message from Monerotopia, because they need it. They desperately need it. They just don't know it yet, but they need it. So
That's awesome.
I'm giving a little preview there. That's my plan. Hopefully, knock on wood, it works out. But I'm bummed that I won't be there because it'll delay us actually having that face-to-face meeting or whatever. But because it needs to happen. But bare minimum, we need to do a follow-up to this immediate recording right now.
Cool.
But let me ask,
Yeah, let's do
for
it.
the benefit of the Mind Your Biz community, I've got the cryptovigilante.io website on screen right now. What's the best way for the Mind Your Biz community to be onboarded into the Crypto Vigilante community? How is it Telegram, Discord? What are the most active channels?
Right away, I would say, look, if you just want to follow us every day, go to YouTube, cryptovigilante.io, on Twitter, vigilante.crypto. But if you really want to be engaged with us on a daily basis, then it's cryptovigilante.io. It's in my opinion, it's a place where we have these really difficult conversations on a daily basis. And could you please, I don't know, did my computer just did my
Wow, your camera cut.
my camera cut?
Yeah. I was gonna say, man, whoever your 3-letter agency handler is, they're trying to stop the signal. We won't let them.
That's fine. So yeah, if you can also go to we also have a workshop that I did recently at Anarchapulco called the workshop is called you'll it's for free actually. It's on cryptovigilante.io/AI. And I talk about the response that the crypto community should have to AI. We created an API that uses proof of work to categorize content on the internet. And it's for free that anyone can grab that API and use it anywhere in crypto because it's this important, guys. Like literally, like, me and my buddies spend over a year creating applications based on this API. The FAQ is everything is there. Just go to cryptovigilante.io/API. And that, in my opinion, is the best response that we can have towards AI in a from a crypto perspective. And then also we have I also talked to you guys about the crypto onboarding problem that we solved, that I quickly described for you guys. And yeah, maybe my camera overheated. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, conversation is too spicy. Just a little too picante, but that's all right, man.
Maybe.
All right. You gotta do it. People have to, people are looking for this. People are hungry for it, right? And I'm sure you hear that all the time. People want the pure signal. They want the straight dope, and they're not getting it from so many other sources. I've been covering the news cycle here on the channel for a little while now, and man, even I'm getting tired of it, right? Like you have to get back to the brass tacks. You have to get back to the fundamentals and remind people, help them wake up that these things are important, right? Like clawing back our dignity, the way you said it. I love the way you said
Right
it.
on.
Clawing back our dignity. And we do that by using these technologies together.
So we have this Friday, we're having a roundtable with all of the Crypto Vigilante analysts, where we're going to be sitting down and talking about all the craziness that's happening with the banks. This is the first time we actually have a roundtable like this, guys. So you go to cryptovigilante.io/roundtable. And that's happening this Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you want to pull it up for me, that'd be great.
Yeah.
cryptovigilante.io/roundtable. And that's happening this Friday. I don't know when this video is going to come out. Oh, thank you.
I think that we're going to get this. We're going to fast track this one. We We haven't with all the other ones. We got a little backlog, but let me get this one fast tracked so that it debuts before the event happens. The roundtable happens. Link will be in the description as well. So, Mind Your Biz community, you have zero excuses. It's right. That's one click away. Go, yeah, go
Awesome.
participate.
Thank you very much for everything, Seth. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for being such an awesome host. And yeah, I really want to hang out with you and talk to you some more because, as you can tell, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
I'd love to even invite some of my analysts to your show so that you can get to know them because those guys are freaking phenomenal, dude. I mean,
Sure.
they're private for a reason. They're out of this world, dude. They're
Yeah.
incredible. They're freaking
No,
incredible.
would absolutely love that. Yeah, anyone from the roster is totally welcome. It's an open door policy. For the record, I just need to ask: did I ask you for any kind of a bounty or payment to be featured on Mind Your Biz?
Oh, dude, that's such a cool question you're asking, dude. No, heck no.
Right?
No, not at
And
all.
did you
Not at
offer
all.
one? Yeah, and
No,
did I
no,
accept one? Yeah,
no.
right. So here's
That's
the
cool,
thing.
dude.
I always put that out there because when it comes to privacy, open mic policy, it's just too important. There are other
Mm.
projects where, yeah, I do occasionally accept paid promo. It helps run the channel. We have some expenses, keeps the lights on. But when it comes to privacy, it's just too important. And some of these projects are running so lean and they're so early that that I don't want to decrease their likelihood of success by assessing any kind of like a fee or anything. So yeah,
Yeah, no,
privacy,
that's
doors
awesome.
open, mics open.
No, that's really cool that you asked that question. It says a lot about you. And thank you for doing that. I mean, that I've never had those questions asked, but I appreciate them a lot.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you again for being on the channel and Mind Your Biz community. You see the links down in the description. Follow all of them. Everything that Rafael mentioned earlier is available there, just one click away. Rafael, thank you again for being on Mind Your Biz, and I cannot wait for the encore meetup.
Awesome. Let's do it. Thank you, Seth.